You answered a lot of questions tonight, what a lot of people been wanting to hear. And, we've had a lot of ghost hunters on here. It hasn't been able to answer what you said in the last hour and a half, and I want to thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. And if you ever want me to come back, I'd be glad to come back, too. I love your show. It's a great show.
Well,
so I appreciate it, Gary. And I appreciate you sticking with it through the flu, and I hope you feel better soon.
Okay, my friend. You have a great weekend and a great Christmas.
All right. And you too, James, out there. You have a great Christmas, too, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Night, guys.
Bye.
Okay, James, we'll be back here after the break.
A face smiles with a flare. You know the spirit behind the smile, but can't place when away. A mist encompasses your beam. You see the place at last. This is no accidental meeting, but an illumination of the past. We recognize each other, and on these roads we do live. We hear the ancient rumbling, we see a distant sound. We're open to a pathway of souls in transmigration. On angels' wings and with light beams, fly to our destination. One another, there were others in another life. 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 We travel singing unplanned paths, and our steps are unaware. But it all makes sense from lifetimes past when we finally get there. Our joys and pain and sorrows, travel trails of reinvention. Through many lives, our souls survive inside divine dimensions.
Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, with our host, Gary Anderson.
And here I am. I'll tell you, tonight it just went by so fast. We're down to the last half an hour. Again, a big shout out to all the truckers. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we're at on a lot of radio stations. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys keep the country going and rolling. And just think, just a week or so, not even a week away, and it's going to be Christmas.
Yeah, can you imagine? Then it's going to be a new year, Gary.
Yes, and then it's going to be my birthday on the 8th. Oh, my God, did you have to say New Year?
What are you going to be, 53 or 4?
I'm going to be 48.
48.
Why not?
I knew you and Jack Benny was stuck somewhere on something.
Now, wait a minute, Dennis. No, actually, I'm going to be 39.
There you go, Jack. I knew it.
Okay. Now, do you believe that? No. Anyway, but I tell you what, one thing Jack Kenna did, compared to a lot of people we've had on the show, he answered a lot of questions. I just let him talk. I didn't want to interrupt him much because he was flowing information that we've been starving to hear for the past couple years. I mean, he gave out more information tonight than we've ever got from anybody who's been in ghost hunting.
Right, and I got to say about Jack, I've known him a few years, not a long time, but I've talked to him recently, talking to him now actually on the side here, but he's one of the very few people in this field that I can respect. We're on the same page with so much that we do. Well, I'm pretty much kind of retired now, but he is a treasure trove of information. Besides the paranormal field, he's really a good guy. He's nothing fake about him. He's honest and he's legit. And again, he's treasure trove of information. Honestly, and he does. He will answer people. Like he says, you think he's on TV and stuff. He won't do that, but he will.
Well, yeah, well, just like me, I do a radio show, but I answer, boy, do I answer. I tell you, my arthritis is getting so bad from using the keyboard for hours at a time. Plucking away this finger here and this finger there.
Yeah, listen, that's right. You got to be careful. You end up getting carpal tunnel, and then what are we going to do with you?
Oh, I don't need my hands to do a show. I can just use, as long as my mouth don't get lockjaw.
Oh, Lord. You would be in a pickle, wouldn't you?
I had that once. It's not a good thing.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, I never knew anybody had that before, but...
yeah, well, you don't want to go through it. I was like in my mid-20s, and I got lockjaw. And I tell you, it was so painful. And it took about a week and a half before it kind of, subsided. And you don't want to go through that. Now, I know some women I've dated on dates, I wish they would have had lockjaw. I can tell you that.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that one, but I'm glad you went that way, not the other way. But oh boy, yeah, that getting lockjaw as somebody that talks a lot, that's like a doctor being afraid of blood. That's not a good combination.
Yeah, I actually had another friend that was going to be a doctor, and he got into medical school. He went for pre-med, and then he got into medical school, and he dropped out because he couldn't handle. He's seeing the organs, and he couldn't handle seeing the blood. And just think about all the money he spent pre-med just to, drop out.
Exactly. That kind of reminds me, because I use that comparison. Speaking of the paranormal field, there's a lot of people, and a lot of them are on these TV shows that you can watch. They're on right now. I see them all the time. They're afraid of their own shadow, everything that spooks them. Well, if you're in the paranormal field and you're investigating, how can you be afraid of everything that goes bump in the night? I mean, you've got to expect being touched or hearing things. And if you're afraid of that, you're in the wrong business.
Well,
because here's the thing. Think about it.
Are they?
Go ahead.
Are they, James? Jack said something too. You don't forget, it's also showbiz.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe they put that little scared. I'm scared of it because it gets people's heart, pumping the blood, when they're watching the show. It gets them a little scared too. So maybe that's why they're scared.
Yeah, that's true too. Because I do know from personal experience that these shows, they're not. You put it like this: if you do an interview with them and it's 4 hours, they only got 15 minutes of it they're going to put in, so you're not going to get the whole story, or they may tell you to ad lib a little bit for ratings. And Jack's right about that. Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, I guess that the thing is, I used to watch a lot of ghost hunters and all that stuff. Then like I said, getting back into radio, I haven't been able to watch any of it. I just don't have the extra time. But I noticed for a while, ghost hunting shows kind of slacked off, and now it's like somebody slammed the door open and here they are again. They're just coming on all these cable networks, that and UFO ones. Are they competing with a contest? Which one? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I think you're right. And now there's a Bigfoot show that just popped up on. I think they've had 2 episodes so far.
Yeah, but there's been a couple Bigfoot show ones, and I won't mention the name, but one of them had a crew of 13 people, and they would go out looking for Bigfoot, and they never would see one. Well, how could you if you had a crew of 13 people bringing cameras, bringing lights, sound equipment, tromping, through the woods? Yeah, I guess you're going to run into a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I know. Listen. You're lucky to find one if you're by yourself and real stealthy for about 3 days to a week out in the middle of nowhere, much less trampling around the woods with, like you say, a dozen people. And a dozen people makes a lot of noise, buddy, so you're not going to sneak up on anything.
I know. Interesting. But, what's your plans for the New Year? What is your goals, James, for New Year's?
My goal for New Year is to... wake up another day alive. I don't really have any plans or anything. Just, I'm an old, boring, simple man, average Joe. I probably just sit here and watch TV and watch a little ball and the thing fall on the TV and just be to myself probably.
Now, you know what my plans are?
What?
Take each day as it comes. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of emails today. about because I cut the show down from 4 hours to 3 hours. I'm going to say it again here before the end of the show. I had to. I physically couldn't do 4 hours a night with two guests. And always it was getting down because the flu season hit. And it seemed like I was getting a guest, at least one a night, canceling sick. And that would leave us one guest. And you can't bring a guest on for 4 hours very easily. Because, I mean, you only have so much content a person can talk about. And it was getting to be a stress, trying to keep, the show two guests each night for 4 hours. And I had to make a decision. And, it almost caused me losing the show. My agent at one point mentioned that he could replace me with another talk show host, very simply. And I said, very simply, you're not going to find another talk show host that's going to come on here for 4 hours a night and go through what I have to go through, because they're going to have to go through the same thing. So we came to terms. We're back now, as of tonight, doing a 3-hour show, which I think I was never for a 4-hour show. For a while after my injury, we cut it, as you remember, down to 2 hours.
Right.
And then I brought it up to 3. And then all of a sudden, my agent calls me up and says, oh, your ratings are really high. A lot of the stations want you for 4 hours. I got a funny feeling he wanted me for 4 hours. I told Larry the other day when we were going on about this, I said, why don't you fly over here? I got a cabin. You can spend a night in the cabin. You can come up into my studio and you do a 4-hour show.
I've said often, I don't know how you do it, because, people don't realize behind the scenes, because I've helped you and I've been part of it, and you've been most of it, but how the heck it's hard to get two guests, and you're doing it 5 nights a week, and then, like you said, that flu season hits, and man, because it's a law of averages, it's going to happen. You can't get around it, and it's hard to get not just guests, but decent, good quality guests. And so if you're doing that 5 nights a week in a month, that's 20, that's 40 guests. That's a lot of guests.
It's more than that. It's actually about 48 guests a month. And that is hard. I can bring in 100 guests a night, but do you want guests that no one's heard of? I mean, you want to talk about really weird things that, don't make sense? That's not going to happen. I've been doing this for years and years and years. And after I got out of retirement, the first year of the show, I had to work my way up to where I'm at now. And I had a lot of guests on. I just sat there and listening to them. I was just amazed. Why am I even doing this? No offense to them. I mean, they weren't, how can I say, they weren't prepared to be a guest, or what they were the topic they were covering changed all of a sudden from what we agreed on to what it ended up being on the show. I mean, now we have, because we are noted out there now, we got, guests trying to come on the show that are great guests. But, I don't have 48 a month wanting to come on. I have a good 25 or 30 a month that want to come on. That's a good ratio.
That is. And it's more doable, and honestly, I think you'll have better quality of guests that'll be more consistent, and I think in terms it will make your show more a quality of a show. It will just have to, and I think it'll work out good with those 3 hours, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what, another thing I'm going to do, because people for the last 2 years and so many months are not used to me taking phone calls, and we tried it, and then, the phone calls didn't come in. But then they would come in during the show at the wrong time, like when I have a guest on. Well, I only have a couple lines here, so if I got a guest on, I have you on, I can't start taking phone calls without dropping you off or the guest off, so that doesn't work. But I think what we'll do is 1 day a week, starting in January, probably the second week in January, we're going to promote about it a lot. We'll have a night, like a Friday night, like the last half an hour they can call in. And we'll start doing, taking some call-ins. Be it if it's only 1 or 2 guests calling in, want to talk about something, we'll talk as long as they want.
Or even like that one night, I think we used the last half hour, I think, when the Star Trek thing was on. We got a bunch of calls that night for some reason.
It was going on the whole time. The interview was going on. The phone was clicking on, Skype telling me there was a caller there. We probably had about 40, 50 calls that just wanting to come on during when the guest was on, which that wouldn't have worked. So